Look at the laws even we have today. If you loved your neighbor,
yes,
you would not drive drunk.
Yeah.
You would not drive under the influence.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't want to take the chance that you might hurt someone, that you might kill someone, or that you might kill yourself. But because you have an overestimation of your abilities or underestimation of the effects of the chemical that you're under, you decide that you're going to take the chance and get out there and put their lives and your lives at risk.
At risk. Now,
if you loved your neighbor, you wouldn't rob them.
That's right.
You wouldn't steal from them.
That's right.
People wouldn't have to worry about locking their doors and locking their windows and putting up bars and putting on alarms.
yes, sir.
Because they said, well, my neighbor loves me. They would never do anything to hurt me.
Yes, sir.
But because we love anyone, especially ourselves sometimes, we do what we want to do. If we loved our neighbor, we would never kill someone.
No.
We would never physically or sexually abuse anyone.
That's right.
But because we don't love ourselves and we don't love one another, we cannot keep the law.
Yes.
So, Jesus was saying, listen, I'm not even asking you to live up to the standard of the old way of thinking. He says, I'm giving you a new standard that even exceeds the old standard.
Yes.
And that new standard, Jesus says, I'm giving to you is this, that you love one another,
Yes, sir.
even as I have loved you.
All right.
And so, it's not to take up a lot of your time. We're just going to move on into this.
Preach.
I got a lot of stuff here.
All right.
You know, I'm a discipler. That's what God has called me to do. And you know, I wish that we had the church had the temperament, I guess you say, and even the science that we can do a discipleship class, because you know that would be something that I would love to do. That's what I'm called to do. But you know, I do the best that I can. I write books, I preach, I teach, I do blogs, I do videos, whatever, you know, outlet God gives me, so that way I can try to get the word out to Him.
Amen.
Yes.
And so He says here that He gives us a new commandment, and that commandment is that how we are to love one another.
Yes.
We're to love one another first unconditionally.
Yes.
And second, we are to love one another sacrificially.
All right.
Now, let's talk about this unconditionally. That means that we are to love people who are unlovable.
All right.
Unlovable.
We are to love people even though they don't love us.
Yeah.
We are to love people even though they mistreat us. We are to love people even though they don't look like us.
That's the key.
We are to love people even though they don't talk like us.
That's it.
We are to love people even though they don't smell like we think they ought to smell.
That's the key.
We are to love people because God loves people. We are to love people because God loves us. We are to love unconditionally.
All right.
That's it.
We are to love people in spite of their flaws and in spite of their weaknesses, because Jesus loved us in spite of our flaws and in spite of our weaknesses.
Yes.
But you see, our love is a bit more fickle. You know,
Preach.
if you don't look like I think you ought to look, or if you don't act like I think you ought to act, or if you don't smell pleasant to me, then I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Yes.
But you see, if we do that, we're going to miss out on a whole lot of blessings.
Miss out.
You know, I was watching this TVN yesterday. I don't know if some of you saw it, but they put this short story on yesterday afternoon by Max Lucado. It was called The Book and the Rose. And it was a very interesting story, because essentially this is the story. The man goes into a bookstore and he buys a book, Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, and he takes it home and he begins to read the story. But more so than the story, he began to read the notes that are in the margins that were written by the previous owner.
All right.
And based upon the notes, he began to form a bond or a relationship with this writer. And so he looked in the back of the book and he found out who the writer was, and so he tracked her down.
All right.
And they began to correspond via mail. Now, the story is supposed to take place back in like 1942 or something in that neighborhood, right around World War II. So they didn't have internet and all these other things that they have. You had to rely on the postal service. And so they would correspond with one another, and he eventually got to the point where he said, well, let me have a picture of you. And she said, no, I don't want to send a picture of you. He said, I want a picture of me. I want us to just, continue the correspondence, and eventually we'll meet.
Yes.
All
He
right.
said, but I do not want to spoil the surprise. That's what she said.
Right.
So they continued to correspond, and then he got drafted, and he told her that he was on his way to go over to England, and I guess he didn't know if he would be coming back. So he said that on my way out, I'm be stopping in the city where you're in, and I want to meet you.
Yeah.
He says, I'm going to meet you in the train station under the statue, he says, and like you said in a previous letter you sent me, be wearing a rose. So I don't know how to identify you. So he's in the train station and he's waiting, and he sees this tall, nice looking statuesque lady walk by, and he says hi to her, and he calls her by name, and she looks at him, and there was no recognition, and so he said, well, that wasn't her. So then she walks off. Then he looks around the station to see if he could find the woman, and then he sees this older lady, kind of short, kind of fat, and she's wearing the rose.
Yeah.
And so now he's at a crisis of conscience,
Yeah.
a crisis of the faith.
Yeah.
Does he approach this woman or not?
All right.
So he had the book in his hand.
Yes.
He had his duffel bag in his other hand.
Uh-huh.
And so he said, well, I don't think this is going to work. So he sticks the book back in the bag. Then he has a second thought, and he says, you know, let's go for it. This is what he's thinking. So he took the book out, and he walked over to the lady, and he talked to her, and he says, are you Sarah? And she just looks at him and smiles. He says, I'm John. And he says, I've got the book. And they convened to converse, and he asked her, he said, are you disappointed because, you know, how I look? And she said, no. He said, you know, you want to go and get something to eat? And she says to him, she says, listen, sir, I don't know what this is about. Some woman just gave me a rose and told me that if you come up to me and ask me anything, to tell you that she's in a restaurant across the street. So then he walks out the store, out the train station to the restaurant across the street, and what he sees is a tall, statuesque woman that walked past him. Now, the moral of the story is this. If he had saw this woman and said, and looked on the outward appearance and said, this ain't gonna work, then he would have lost out on his blessing, because she was the filter, I guess you could say. Because one of the questions that she asked in the margin of the book was, if you tell me who you love, I'll tell you who you are. And if he was shallow enough that he would turn this woman down because he said, well, this ain't gonna work, then she didn't want to have anything to do with him because he was a shallow man.
Yes, sir.
But if he was to approach this woman and say to her, you know, look, I'm not worried about what's on the outside.
Yeah.
I'm in love with what's on the inside.
Yes, sir.
Then she knows that he was much deeper than a lot of superficial people are.
Yes.
And because he
Come on, sir.
displayed that, because he followed through in that he was rewarded with the blessings of getting the woman that he really wanted.
Yes.
Now, that is how we are.
All right.
We miss out on a lot of our blessings. In fact, the book of Hebrews tells us that we should be careful how we treat strangers.
Yes,
He
sir.
said, because many of us,
Not a word, preacher.
without knowing it, have entertained the messengers of God.
Yes, sir.
You don't know how many blessings that you have thrown away because you have ignored
Look out.
people because you looked on the outside.
Thank you. That's
But
right.
as the storyteller of Beauty and the Beast says, that beauty is found within.
Yes.